The biggest obstacle for me in my trading is accepting the fact that it's possible for me to be wrong. That's something that I deal with like in my own life too, though, just, personal friendships and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not really good at accepting the fact that, things could go any way except for mine.
What's up, traders? My name is Kenta. Welcome back to another TFT interview. Today we're joined with Adaisha. She's from Florida. She's a funded trader with The Funded Trader. Welcome, Adaisha. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Kinsa?
Doing very well. Doing very well. So let's just jump into it. How did you get into trading?
I was introduced to trading by one of my friends. His name is Jalen. He introduced me through Robinhood and everybody in our work center. I used to be in the Navy, so he introduced everybody inside of our work center to Robinhood. We all got signed up and we're all, exchanging free stocks, so on and so forth. From there, he ended up coding his own indicator-based strategy, and I followed that strategy basically for a pretty long time. And then eventually later on down the road, some things came up to where he decided that he wanted to perfect the strategy and sell it. At that point in time, I started to realize that I was more serious about trading and I couldn't really depend on that strategy since he was planning on selling it. From there, I had to figure out, a different route to go. Through YouTube, I ended up finding the Inner Circle Trader through another trader that you guys have interviewed by the name of Ron Trades. So yeah, I ended up, learning ICT content, just drowning myself in his videos on YouTube for hours and days on end, basically. And then from there, I started to progress and got better.
Nice. And with this indicators that you were using at first, what was it comprised of?
There was a few different indicators on there, a few different EMAs. There was a signal for buying and selling. What else was on there? I don't know why. I think that's pretty much all I remember. There was some other
profitable for you? Did you find profitability?
So I wasn't able to get profitable with it, but I don't really think that was the issue. I think that a lot of the issues that I were having were really psychology based, and then also just being a beginner in general. I don't think that it was the strategy that was the issue. It was just that I just didn't have enough experience, with the charts, but I was able to get funded with it. I just couldn't, go live with it, which is why I knew that it was psychological issues.
Okay, so you were trying to get funded with that strategy at that time?
Yeah, and I did get funded with it, but I never got a payout with it. So that's how I knew that it was like psychology.
That kind of leads me to the next question, which is like, what's been like the biggest obstacle in your trading? Like, how did you overcome it?
The biggest obstacle for me in my trading is accepting the fact that it's possible for me to be wrong. That's something that I deal with like in my own life too, though, just, personal friendships and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not really good at accepting the fact that, things could go any way except for mine. That is something that I'm still combating. But the way that I'm combating that basically is I started going back into demo trading and doing a lot of paper trading, just identifying the draw and liquidity, not necessarily even placing any positions for the day. Just, waking up in the morning, identifying the draw, closing the charts, coming back and seeing, how things ended up playing out.
So you would say you're like a set and forget type of trader?
I'm not, but I kind of want to implement that into my trading because I noticed that sometimes, like, depending on my mood, I could end up sabotaging a position when I didn't really need to. Like I would get out early, and then it, end up going my way in the long term. So
right. What time frame do you use when you're trading?
I typically enter on the 15 or the 5-minute, but I manage most of my trades on the 1 or 5-minute charts.
So you would say you're more of a scalper or like a day trader?
Intraday swing positions, basically. So I'm just trying to catch like, majority of the daily range.
I think you mentioned to me that currently like trading, backtesting, like what does that look like currently for you?
Yeah, pretty much just and going back into the backtesting phase and revamping a lot of like the psychological aspects of myself. Because now I know for sure that I am technically, capable of being a profitable trader. But the consistent profitability is going to come from the inner work that I have to do. And I just kind of had to go back in time and, rework a lot of the things that I didn't do in the beginning of my trading journey. I tried to, skip a couple of steps basically. And it's like, okay, I got the money, but now, I'm facing my own personality pretty much in my trading.
How many trades would you be taking per week or like per day? What would that look like?
It depends on my mood. I try to keep it down to like 2 or 3 because I only trade Euro USD and the NASDAQ. I try to keep it to probably like 2 or 3 trades per day. I only trade the New York session. But if it's an impulsive type of day for me, the positions would get pretty high up in there because it would be a lot of me ping ponging back and forth, not really sticking to my bias.
Do you have like with your risk management, is it like a set amount of points or pips, or how do you approach your risk management?
I approach my risk management by percentage. I don't really have a specific amount of pips that
Okay.
I do or don't like to use. I try to keep my risk at 1%, 1.5 at most.
Okay.
And then whenever I lose a trade, I try to cut my risk in half until I get back the trade that I lost, basically.
When you approach like a funding challenge, do you start with that 1 to 1.5% risk, or do you start like lower?
No, I start right at the 1% risk or 1.5% risk.
Okay. And are you like aiming for like a certain risk to reward? How do you approach that?
I like to catch big moves, so I try to go for, the full whatever the goal is for the account. I try to get that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, nobody's too good for a 1-to-1.
For
So
sure.
it's just
Okay.
like if I like the setup, then I'll go for it as long as obviously it's at least, 1-to-1. I would never go for anything.
There was a fact that we found on like through the statistics. It was basically like the funded traders, the people that were getting funded were hitting at least a 1-to-1. When it comes to like, your education, as far as like, mentors or programs that you purchased or books, like, is there any recommendations that you have in that regard?
I have spent a lot of money on education, and if I could be 100% honest with you, I don't really have any recommendations. I would probably just say for people to go for ICT just because his content is all free and it's going to be the most in depth that you'll probably get online for sure. Nobody's bringing it like that, in my opinion. I do know, people with Discord chats.
For sure.
As far as actually buying people's education, I wouldn't do it.
Are you a reader? Like, do you read? Are you an avid reader at all, or do you?
I learn best through audio. So
Okay.
I watch a lot of videos or listen to audiobooks.
Okay. Do you have any book recommendations? It doesn't have to be trading, like outside of trading or in trading.
I am reading this, I guess you could say like a biography by Jada Pinkett Smith. That's really good.
Oh,
It just
really?
came out.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's not trading related.
Yeah.
I don't really read a whole bunch of trading related books because they get kind of boring. So I just watch the videos and I learn that way.
Are you like at all trading your own funds, or when you got into it, was it just strictly trying to get funded?
Yeah, getting into Forex, it's always been for me just getting funded.
Yeah.
That's the way that I was introduced to it, as in a way to like, firms really cut down that whole risk of like losing everything that you have.
Yeah.
Like it's, all you can lose is just whatever you put in to buy the account. So that's a lot more comfortable for me than just, putting money into an account and then just going into the endless cycle of just blowing the accounts basically.
And how many challenges did you have to go through before you finally got a payout?
I don't have the exact amount of challenges that I did, but with the funded trader, I spent $800 with y'all before I
Okay.
got my first payout.
That's a good risk to reward on your
It
phone.
is. Yeah, 800 for a payout of, that much that's not bad.
That's awesome. Like, what was your like best trade on, your challenges? Like, was what the one that you got to pay out? Like, did you have one big trade, or was it just an accumulation of multiple trades?
I was doing really good. It was an accumulation of multiple trades. Am I able to like share my screen
Yeah, absolutely. You can
so that
share.
I can show? Okay, so this right here is just my year one Forex trading analysis just for myself. So this was my dashboard at the time of the payout. And then for here, this was the most profitable trade for the NASDAQ for me, which was 2,400. And this was the setup that I used. And something interesting that was, that really caught me. This trade didn't even hit my full TP, but I exited at the point that I was supposed to. I didn't try to force it and say, oh my gosh, because I really did see it, going down to clear these equal lows, but that's just not
Right.
what ended up happening. I'm really proud of myself for being able to catch myself at those kind of points and say, okay, I'm just going to take my profit here and then come back another day. That's a really good skill to have.
That was a great trade right there. I like that. Do you mind sharing the like your trading view and showing sort of like an example of your strategy and like how that would look?
All right, so something like this, basically, all right, so price would trade down into this fair value gap on the 4-hour chart, and then I would be down on like the 5 minute looking inside of this fair value gap for opportunities to enter. Right here on the 4-hour, you can see like this fair value gap right here. So price will trade into that fair value gap. And since my bias is bullish, I would be looking for long opportunities in this area on a lower time frame.
Nice.
So you can get down there in the 15-minute. And for me, I don't really trade London session. I would only be looking in New York session for opportunities to enter. Okay. So let's take a look at 9:30. So this is actually a really good opportunity. So basically, I use what ICT calls a 2022 model. So you're looking for a run on sell side liquidity, which happens here whenever we trade below this low. So this is sell side liquidity being ran. From there, I look for a displacement and a market structure shift, which is right here. So it's like you can see all these big green candles bursting through that. From there, I'll be looking for price to retrace back here. I'll be looking for a fair value gap on this time frame below the 50% level. So anywho, price will retrace, and then I would enter somewhere in there basically, and then I would target for buy side liquidity up above the highs. In which case today we did not get all the way up there, but similar to how the trade that I showed you on Notion, like, I could have, exited before then, if that makes sense. Like, I don't have to take it all the way up there. Oh yeah, I put my stop loss right below here.
Got it. Okay. That's awesome. That trade right there.
For me, say if I did enter, I'll just put it in like a random spot like this. Stop loss would be right here, and then TP up here. When it comes to me managing the trade, right, what I like to do whenever price is moving, I just highlight all of the imbalances that pop up, and I pay attention to how price treats it. So since I would have been entering basically right here, I would be watching how price moves, from here on. Price is forming this. I'm going to be looking to see how does price treat this fair value gap. Are we using it as a support or as a resistance? Right. For a while, we use it as support, and then we dip below it, and then that's when we start going up. So I can't really speak on exactly what would have happened here because I didn't take this trade.
Right.
But I can bet on the way that my brain works, depending on the day, I could have exited here out of fear. Me saying like, man, I don't think this trade is going to work out. Or it could have been a really good day for me, and I could have just been like, oh yeah, I'm going to hold through this and see what's going to happen next.
Got it. So you don't have like a rule saying like, if I hit 1-to-1 R, I'm going to put my stops to break even, or I'll reduce risk?
No, because I believe that every trade is its own individual opportunity. So I don't want to treat it like that, because there's been times that I've gotten all the way up to 1 to 2. Price could come back down and draw down and put me into drawdown and then go right back up, all the way into take profit. So I don't like to treat trading like that. I treat it as each individual trade is its own thing. And, I go with how I'm feeling for that day, because each day is different for me. I may be able to tolerate more in one day than any other.
Like, let's just say you held that trade through that impulsive, like a point where you would have exited maybe at that last high, or do you just hold until you see something that tells you to get out? Like, how does that?
So realistically, I probably would have ended up, once price pulled back down here, I probably would have ended up exiting like somewhere like right here, because this dip down probably would have been too much for me at the moment. I'm not sure.
Look at any candle patterns or any sort of stuff like that, or?
Yeah, I used to, like, back whenever I first started, but then my friend, the one that had said that I told you about, that coded his own strategy, he kind of brought up one day, like, we all trade these head and shoulders, but what does that really mean? Like, you can say whatever you want as a head and shoulders, but like, it's going to be different from somebody else's. So how could your strategy really be consistent if nobody has a clear definition of what it is?
Is this a person that you still are friends with and trade, like, share ideas with?
Yeah, so we used to have a community last year, but some things got shifted around, so not so much anymore. Yeah, I haven't really been into contact with him like that. I am inside of another trading group that's ran by Ron Hart. He has a really nice trading community, and he really sets a tone, very, very disciplined. So
when it comes to, advice for like new trader or someone that's coming into, trying to get funded, do you have anything that you would, say to that trader?
Take your time. Take your time, do it right. Don't try to, take any shortcuts to becoming profitable, because you could be like me, you can get one payout, but the goal is to get, multiple payouts and be getting paid out on a consistent basis. I would definitely say take your time, do it right. Make sure that you're really confident in the strategy that you're using, and be confident in your abilities, and know that you're capable of doing it. It's very easy to get online and think that everybody is doing better than you, but please believe that people are only showing the highlights of, what they're doing. You don't know the ins and outs of how they feel every single day. So just, be very mindful about being on social media when you're learning.
That's so true. I I went through
Very true.
that phase when I first started trading, like hopping on people's like telegrams and discords and all the different information that's shared, all the different indicators. And it can be a little bit distracting from like what you need to do as a trader and what you need to learn.
Yeah, because you kind of think that like, somebody has the holy grail, but nobody does. The holy grail is within yourself. So
Yeah.
once you realize that, there's no limits. There's
Yeah.
no limits once you realize that.
What are your like the like commonalities as far as like psychological hurdles that you've seen in yourself and others that either you're working on now or that that you've struggled with in the past?
One of the biggest things is negative self-talk. So I have to catch myself, especially when I'm losing. It can get bad, that was an idiot move, or, and then it just becomes
Right.
this whole big thing when it's like, all you did was lose a trade. You didn't really have to talk to yourself like that. That's something that I battled, and I still battle with that sometimes, to be honest. It's a conscious effort for me now that I have to like step in and stop myself from, speaking negatively about myself if I'm not doing well. What else is there? Anxiety. I have bad anxiety.
Yeah.
So that not only does that show in my real life, and friendships and stuff, it shows in the charts and everything. I know, what days I can and can't trade, especially like stuff like FOMC, CPI, and all that, like that, really gets me riled up. So it's just like I already know like what to expect from myself.
Is there any
Anxiety for
sort of
sure.
like practices, things that you do, like I don't know, sports or meditation or I don't know, whatever? Like, is there something that you do that helps you sort of alleviate that? Yeah.
Smoking definitely helps out, to be honest with you. Smoking is definitely something that helps. It takes away my anxiety and it allows me to kind of, I don't know, it may sound weird, but be one with the markets. Like I
Okay.
can just genuinely pay attention to exactly how the candles are moving
Interesting.
whenever I'm under the influence of that.
Okay.
So that working out is definitely
Yeah.
something good as well. For me, like I can't go to the gym while I'm in a trade. Like I can't do that. Then I'm just sitting there thinking about the trade the entire time I'm on the treadmill. Yeah, so if I'm trading, then I'm trading. And then once I'm done, like when I leave the house, that's it. I don't take them, out with me. I don't have trading view on my phone. I don't have
Oh, okay.
MetaTrader on my
Okay. So you just
phone.
keep it off. Just
Yeah, because I treat it like a video game if I don't.
okay.
And it takes a lot. Like to log in the computer, I got to use my fingerprint. I got to open up MetaTrader and do all this stuff. So it's
Right.
like by the time that I do that, I've really thought through whether or not I want to take a trade versus on my phone, I can just swipe it open up the app, and then it's at my fingertips.
Cool.
And
Cool.
people probably like thought that I was weird for doing that, but I'm just like, listen, like this is probably the best thing I've ever done for myself. Taking trading view off of my phone has helped me a lot when it comes to profitability for sure.
As far as like your, I don't know, your trading goals or maybe goals outside of trading, what do those look like?
Yeah. So ultimately down the road, I would like to day trade people's money for them. So I want to take this very seriously. Actually, after, this year, once I get into next year and getting into doing more prop firm challenges next year, I'm planning on starting my own personal live account in August of next year. And then from there, just kind of building my track record with that. Over the course of like the next year and a half, 2 years, I'll have enough data compiled to be able to share with people, and hopefully attract some investors to that.
You journal all your trades, I'm assuming?
I do, yeah. So I have a video journal actually.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't have like an Excel spreadsheet or anything like that, but I have a video journal that I keep on a hard drive because I learned that like me trying to type things through a spreadsheet, I don't really learn well through that. So
Yeah.
like I said, since I'm like more of a, visual and audio learner, I learn better, through the video. So I just started creating a video journal so that I can go back and listen to myself, talk myself through all of these things,
Interesting.
because all of the emotions that I feel, whenever I lose and all that, I felt those things before. It's just a matter of going back and paying attention to how I was during those times. And I
Right.
can't do that through a spreadsheet, but I can through video though.
So
So,
how do you record it? Like, what's that process look like?
so I just use my MacBook, which is
Uh-huh.
what I'm on right now. And I have
Okay.
this app. It's like a free app called OBS. It's a
Oh,
video
yes. Yep.
recording software. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I just use that and I set it up and I start screen recording with myself in a little box in the bottom right. And I
Nice.
just talk my own ear off for probably like 30 minutes a day. Just, express all of my thoughts and feelings about my positions, or even if I didn't take a position, just talk about the charts or how I'm feeling that day.
So you recommend journaling?
Yes, for sure.
And then outside of trading, do you have any other like plans or I don't know, anything that you'd like to share?
No, that's it. I'm fully geared in towards trading. Yeah, full blown in it for the most part. I am in college going for a marketing degree. So I have some things that I'm doing for that, a couple of internships that I'm getting myself involved in, part-time jobs and stuff like that. But for the most part, a lot of my focus does go into trading and perfecting this at the moment.
You're going to school, but are you also working? Like,
Yeah, so I used to be in the Navy. So
yeah.
we get like a housing stipend through the GI Bill every
Cool.
month. So I just use that, and I'm married. So
Awesome.
so I don't have to, worry about living expenses and stuff like that. All that stuff is covered. So I'm just at the perfect time. All the stars are aligned for me to actually, learn and fully immerse myself in it.
That's awesome.
And my spouse is super supportive of it too.
Does he trade
She's
as
the
well?
one. No, she doesn't trade, but she's the one that brought me the flash drive though. She
That's
doesn't understand it, but she's like, "Here you go. I got you this thing so you can, journal your stuff." So
awesome. Thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this interview, like and subscribe. Show us some love in the comments. And until next time, we'll see you soon.